So many of you asked if Cricket 26 can actually run on a low-end PC without a graphics card, and today we finally have the answer. This entire video is recorded on an i3 system using only integrated graphics. No GPU cheating, no hidden boosts, just raw, low-spec reality. What you are watching is exactly how the game behaves in real gameplay. Not benchmarks, not trailers, just pure match action. And honestly, this test was interesting because cricket games usually look simple on the surface, but can be surprisingly demanding once the crowd, lighting, physics, and AI kick in. So the big question is simple. Is Cricket 26 actually playable on a low-end PC, or is it another game that looks light but crushes weaker systems? Let's break it down properly. For this test, I turned everything down to low and locked the resolution to 720p to give the i3 the best possible breathing room. With these settings, the game delivered anywhere between 20 to 35 FPS, depending on what was happening on screen. During slower moments, like field setup, replays, and certain bowling angles, the frame rate stayed closer to the mid-30s. During intense batting shots, crowd-heavy stadiums, and fast camera pans, it dropped closer to the low 20s. The good part is that the game never crashed at any point during testing. No freezes, no black screens, no forced exits, which is honestly a relief for a new sports release on low hardware. However, the performance is not perfectly stable. There are occasional stutters even with crowd quality set to low. You will feel small hiccups while running between the wickets or right after a shot connects. There is also occasional input lag, where the player reacts slightly late to your commands. Interestingly, this input delay seems to be a common issue across many systems, not just low-end PCs, so this problem is not entirely the fault of the i3. Loading times are on the longer side, especially when entering matches and switching modes. The game takes its sweet time to settle in, but once loaded, it stays reasonably stable. Overall, from a pure performance viewpoint, Cricket 26 is playable on an i3 without a graphics card, but you will need patience and realistic expectations. Now let's talk about the actual gameplay experience, and this is where things get complicated. Visually, Cricket 26 does show improvements over older titles. Player movement feels more natural, animations look smoother, and the overall presentation feels slightly more polished. Player models look less cartoony and a bit more realistic than before. The sound design is also noticeably better. The bat-ball contact, stadium atmosphere, and field noises feel more alive. The wicket-keeper has new animations while bowling, and fielding AI looks smarter at first glance. Also, compared to earlier releases, the launch is surprisingly stable with fewer game-breaking bugs, which is honestly one of its biggest achievements. But once the honeymoon phase wears off, the cracks start showing. Many of the old gameplay problems still exist. Well-timed shots often go straight to the boundary or result in a wicket with very little middle ground. Scoring at high run rates feels way too easy, yet the confidence system makes no sense. A batter can be smashing runs and still show low confidence, while a bowler getting hammered somehow stays highly confident. The AI struggles badly with field placement and bowling strategy. It does not really bowl to a field and often feels clueless about adjusting to your batting style. The camera options are limited and not always flattering. Pre-match training feels more like a formality than an actual useful mechanic, and after a short while, it becomes repetitive and boring. Commentary starts off fine, but quickly becomes stale and repetitive, especially in longer matches. After about an hour, you will start hearing the same lines again and again, which kills immersion. Then there are some truly frustrating AI behaviors. Fielders sometimes hesitate after blocking the ball, standing still as if they're waiting for instructions from another planet. Throwing timing feels off, and running between the wickets can turn into chaos with delayed reactions and strange player movement. At times, your batsman feels like he received the run command through a very slow internet connection. These issues are not just immersion breaking, they directly affect gameplay control. From a design perspective, the game still feels stuck in the past. The engine and overall visual style have barely evolved over the years. Stadiums, faces, and lighting still look dated for a modern sports title. Creation tools feel limited and buggy. Adding custom content like logos is unnecessarily restrictive and often fails even with small files. Roster updates also feel poorly implemented and unreliable, often reverting back to default settings after restarting the game. This makes the so-called updated squads feel less trustworthy. When you combine all of this, the experience starts feeling like a mixed bag. There are genuine improvements in animation, sound, and stability, but the core gameplay logic and AI behavior still suffer from the same old problems. The high price only makes these flaws harder to ignore. If this were a budget release, many of these issues might have been forgiven. At full price, expectations rise sharply, and unfortunately, the game does not always rise to meet them. So where does that leave Cricket 26 on a low-end PC? From a technical standpoint, the game is playable on an i3 with no graphics card at 720p on low settings. You can expect 20 to 35 FPS depending on the situation. It does not crash, it runs consistently enough to complete full matches, and that alone will make many low-spec players happy. But playable does not mean perfect. You will face stutters, input lag, and long loading times. Visually, it looks better than older cricket games, but it still feels outdated for today's standards. From a gameplay perspective, the improvements are real but limited. Better animations, better sound, and fewer launch bugs are definitely welcome. But the weak AI, strange confidence system, repetitive commentary, and old design philosophy hold the game back. At its current price, it feels like a hard sell, especially when so many issues feel recycled from previous entries. Personally, I feel Cricket 26 is a game that shows effort in presentation, but still plays too safe where evolution actually matters. For casual cricket fans on low-end PCs who just want to play some cricket, it works. For players looking for deep, realistic simulation, it will likely feel underwhelming. So that was Cricket 26 running on a low-end i3 PC with no graphics card. If this video helped you decide whether to buy, skip, or wait for a discount, then mission accomplished. If you have any other games you want me to test on low-end hardware, drop the names in the comments and I will put them on the bench. If you enjoyed this real-world performance test, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with other low-spec warriors who refuse to give up on gaming. Until the next test, keep your frames steady, keep your expectations grounded, and I will see you in the next video.